Hi guys, today I'm doing a 1920s makeup. This is a more traditional style. I'm going to use brow blocking, I'm going to use pale foundation, I'm going to do a smoky grey eye and a strong red smaller shaped lip or a heart shaped lip. I'm also going to use some blush and then I'm going to keep it nice and simple and just add some mascara. Your brief today is to interpret a 1920s makeup into something more modern and more editorial based, but it's good to see some of the traditional ways to get your makeup looking like a 1920s star. So I'm focusing on the more European 1920s look, something that would have been seen in a film, perhaps in a nightclub, and I need to really remove my eyebrows. So my eyebrows are darker, but we have glue and spoolies to smooth them down so that I can conceal and change my eyebrow appearance to be thin and rounded. So that's why I'm taking my brows all the way up and smoothing them down. For you guys, I would recommend brow blocking today to get more practice in and to get started with your era looks. A lot of the eras will have various different eyebrow styles, not that similar to what we have as brow shapes today. So if you don't have brows, lucky you, but if you do, you'll need to brow block and get them nice and settled into the smoothness of the skin. I find that using a craft glue is pretty useful. Some brow blocking techniques can be used with a wax and then a spirit gum product. However, that is a little bit strong for some of these more modern looks, but you can still use a different type of adhesive if you need to. So now I'm just preparing around the eye area with micellar. I just removed a little bit of that glue around the eye and above the brow so that the glue that I have set on my brow doesn't come through into the makeup. So be mindful that when you groom the brows up, there will be a little bit of excess of that glue around the top of the eyebrow section, and you'll need to take it away before setting. Here I am with some translucent powder. It's just a clear translucent powder, and I'm going to set my glue and ensure that it stays in place. With the heat of our natural skin, it does tend to move forward, but the powder really helps it settle down and seal. Now I'm going to take my concealing colour. I've used a flash palette because it's really rich in that orange apricot shade, which I need to eliminate as much of the brow colour as I can. So I powder that away, remove any excess, and then I go in with this concealer around and over the brow section. Sometimes you can go overboard with how much product you use, so just be careful that you haven't overdone the use of product, because you are going to eventually need to come in with a lighter shade on top of this that will need to be softly blended out. So as you can see, I look like I've got some unusual appearance on my brow, but it is color correcting. I get my foundation and I get my white cream and I mix these together to make an opaque base, and this will then go across the face and blend it across the brow with a blending brush. So take some time with this. You might need to use a sponge and a brush. However, I find using one of those thick, dense foundation brushes really do the trick. And then once you're happy with your consistency of foundation and it's pale enough, you can set it again with your translucent powder, and then you have a nice finish to your 1920s style. Sometimes when you do brow blocking, it doesn't always work too well. It depends on the glue. It depends on, what product's using on top, the temperature. But, overall it's a pretty good finish. You can master this furthermore with some of those different application techniques. and we'll look at those later in the term. So here I am with a grey pencil, and I have redrawn in my new brow, which is more of the 1920s style, being rounded, and I've positioned it on top of my natural brow. So this is a second step to it, where I'm taking a pen eyeliner and enriching that line and just taking it across the shape so it looks bright and intense. In the 20s, it's a rounder eye. Some examples will show a bit more of a straight eyebrow, sorry. However, it is thin. So you may see some options, but generally in the early 1920s, in the sort of French section, it was rounder and more heart-shaped and more sweet. However, you might see some alternate options, but nevertheless, they're always thin eyebrows. And then we come in and we start to dramatize our eye. So in 1920, they used to use coal-based pencils that had a very grey tone to them, and they were very, very dark and smoky. We weren't looking for something that was particularly complementary to an eye shape or really evenly placed. It's all about making the eye look even a little bit rounder, not so much almond and high as we like to do in more modern times, but it was all about rounding and keeping it blended from the lash line out. You can intensify it with pencils around the waterline. You can intensify it with eyeliner very tightly drawn around the lashes, but all in all, it's a very smoky, dark, rounded shape. And then you can go into your blush, and your blush is also a round application. It's not contoured into the cheekbone. It is round and heavily placed. It is strong and usually of a more pink shade as opposed to a peach shade. And this would be very popular for the 1920s. A rouge would be used, and something that would look very vibrant on that paler foundation or that paler skin. So a day 1920s may have quite a different appearance. It would still have a paler foundation, a thin brow, but you may not see such a dark smoky eye and such a dark cheek. However, you can get many options of the 20s as long as you keep it thin brow and round when you're placing your makeup. And in my last step here, I have chosen to do a heart-shaped lip, which is become famous from the actress Clara Bow. So here we are as a finished product. I hope you like it. Now it's your turn.